So basically, I'm gonna just be giving the overall basis of chapter 10, which mainly focus on strategic value of mobile tactics and how certain media helps drive public relations with certain strategy. It also focuses on how public relation professionals use social media to build up the community. The chapter mainly talks about different types of attention, such as selective attention, which is the process, filtering certain types of information that I read about. Then it also goes into the uses and gratification of things, which is sort of an approach, it said, to studying and seeking things from the media. There are different types of listenings that the chapter talks about, which is social listening that allows people to track, and analyze certain topics. Um, an interesting thing I read in the chapter is that it one of the things I read was about visual listening. I'm trying to remember, which is the use of image recognition to analyze products and images. And then the chapter also goes into different types of people. People who are freelancers, which mean they work on a project by project basis instead of working permanently, and different things like that. Continuing on with the chapter, it also talks about public domain, which is intellectual property in which the copyright expired or whoever, made the copyright forfeited its right over to the rightful owner. And then it also explains, I believe, Creative Commons, which was another interesting topic that I tried to talk about because it talks about legal sharing of content and helping content creators. Another thing that the chapter has mentioned was landscape orientation, which are images or videos so that the width is greater than the height. And then you also have a vertical video, which is a video framed in orientation, which is greater than the width as well. I feel like some of these things can apply to what I do, which is, a podcast, because I can take, for instance, landscape orientation or even the vertical video and apply that to my podcast. So, public relations goes into with different skills. Me being an entertainer, I feel like those skills are very important, especially in today's society. And I feel like the chapter does a very good job on touching on those type of things. So I feel like as long as I keep doing my podcast and keep growing, it will tie into, the things that the chapter has talked about for sure. And I say that because we live in a world today, in a society today, to where building relationships and forming a community is very important, especially when you want to go into your specific career, after you graduate and certain things like that. And for me, from a personal standpoint, I feel as if I'm gonna need to build relationships in the type of field that I want to go in. As you may know, I do the podcast and things like that. But building relationships by doing my podcast will lead me to other connections and just basically being able to network and do other things like that. When I first started doing the podcast, it was basically just, you know, seeing how things go. But um, my podcast actually ties a lot into chapter 10, which is crazy and funny because, building relationships community is very important because they can take you a very long way. You just never know who you'll be able to connect with and meet. And the chapter really pretty much explains that. It also explains how social media ties into, building relationships community. In today's society, everybody's using social media for things such as Instagram, you have Twitter, you have Snapchat as well. And I feel like that's what the younger generation, us so-called millennials, get most of our information from. When there's always a news outbreak or something breaking news, we don't even watch the news. We just find out off of Instagram or Twitter, which is crazy because it's much different back in the older days where when you found out about the news, it would be off of the actual news channel, which is today, Fox 5 News, for example. But with us having social media and us having that platform to connect and talk to all different types of people, that's building relationships and can, forming communities. Um, Pretty much today in today's society, I feel as if social media is a big part of building relationships and forming communities and takes people a very long way because the more relationships you build, the more you get to network and collab with people and do other things like that. And that's just a major fact that chapter 10 touched on, and you know it did a great job of touching on that type of thing. But it's very important for the people to out there, to network and build relationships because it can take you a long way and will always lead you in the right direction.